Freight Masters. I know that was a little too much probably for this morning, but yeah, no, I'm still feeling the energy from yesterday, last week. Like, I don't know. I love this industry, right? I get pumped almost every single morning, you know. But today I wanted to talk to everybody about recent trends in freight fraud. Some of you may have already experienced this and the hardships that it puts you through as a result. And I'm going to be going over a recent article that was done by Tom over at Operfi from a factor's perspective, right? That was posted on Freight Caviar. Okay. Before I get into today's video, if you enjoy my content, don't forget to smash that subscribe button, like, share, you know the deal, right? You know, as always, we have links for my recommended tools and resources in the description down below. You know, if you need factoring, it doesn't hurt to shop around, right? So even if you're a little unsure, you know, is factoring right for me? Maybe you're kind of like on the fence, you know, about, you know, what should I factor? Get a hold of the people over at Operfi. If it's not a good fit for you, they'll flat out tell you, right? So that's one of the things that I love about Operfi, one of the many, right? But yeah, and then of course we've got eCarrierCheck. There's a discount code and link there. You get your 10% off for the first 3 months. DAT, you know, your discount for a year on that as well. So yeah, don't forget to check those out. So moving on, before I get into it, again, friends don't let friends get caught up in freight fraud. Okay, so we all need to be diligent and you know, do proper vetting. You know, everything, right? We can't get complacent when it comes to freight fraud, because honestly, some of these bad actors, like, I don't know, this may seem a little harsh, but I would hunt them down and bring them back here and, I don't know, bring back public hangings or something. Because when you start messing with someone's livelihood, right? A lot of you owner operators out there, small brokers especially, you know, you guys can't, a lot of you can't afford to get hit with a $4,000 bill or anything like that right now, especially, right? So, you know, and if they couldn't get away with it, they wouldn't still be doing it, right? It's just like, you know, just like any of the other scammers, and I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, have experienced this. You know, oh, I'm calling from Microsoft or whatever. You know, where are you at? I don't know, Washington D.C. You know, or they're calling from the IRS, or they're calling from Amazon, or, you know, whatever, right? So, you know, we all know that those calls are scams. Again, when it comes to your business, you know, whether you're an agent, an owner operator, a fleet owner, a brokerage owner, we all need to be diligent, right? And stop these bad actors in their tracks. Okay. I'll quit getting preachy about that. We'll get into it. All right. So, again, this was written up by Tom over at Operfi. He's the owner over there at Operfi. And I'll just, like I said, just kind of go through this. In the ever dynamic world of transportation and logistics, the word factor often gets treated like a dirty word. However, for those of us, or for those in the factoring business, the real F word is fraud, right? From fake invoices, bogus rate cons, counterfeit bill of ladings, emails, phone numbers, even bank statements, right? They've pretty much seen it all, right? Like, so, you know, we may experience a certain part of the freight fraud, but they really get hit with all of it, right? And I've actually had conversations with Operfi, and they've kind of enlightened me a little bit in the past about you wouldn't believe what they tried to do, right? One of those kind of stories, and it's just it's jaw dropping. It really truly is. Anyway, experiencing fraud as a factoring company is almost a rite of passage. They share stories about fraud together and learn from one another. Okay. Factoring companies may be competitive, but one community among all is that they don't want scammers to get the better of them, their customers, or the industry as a whole. Okay. The shocking and terrifying reality and why they're concerned about the FMCSA. Okay. And this is actually something that I talked about in one of my recent videos. Recently, rumors began circulating all corners of the freight market that the FMCSA approved MCS 150 changes via mail-in submissions without properly verifying their authenticity. Right? Now, pay attention to this because this is important. If someone is unable to access their online FMCSA account, carriers and brokers are required to mail in submissions to the FMCSA to change their contact information. Okay. After receiving that submission, the FMCSA should send a verification letter to the original address on file, which, even though it can take weeks to update, provides a layer of security for all stakeholders. Okay. However, the current rumor is that this verification step was missing for a significant period of time, which allowed for unauthorized account changes to many accounts. If the rumors are true, which I'm pretty sure that they are, right? I've heard some stories, but I'm not going to get into that. That's here or there at this point, or maybe a topic for a different day. We may never know whether the issue was due to understaffing, potential oversight, or just plain negligence, right? Your opinion, drop a comment down below. Let me know your thoughts on that. So what we do know is that thousands of authorities have had their email addresses and phone numbers updated unbeknownst to the actual owners, right? And we believe this is the first domino to fall, which is leading to massive identity theft. Okay. Now, that's something, again, that I've talked about in a couple of recent videos, over the last probably month, actually going back even further than that, about the identity theft, right? Whether your system gets hacked, whatever, cybersecurity is a big thing, right? That's something that we are diligent on over here where I'm at, right? So, we actually have like these spammy test emails and stuff that, if you get caught with it, and you accidentally click on something, then you got to go back and retest. And, it's just sort of, driving that point home about being diligent, right? And not clicking something that could be detrimental to your operations. Okay. The evolution of fraud from a factorer's view. Factoring companies have seen fraudulent activities evolve through the years, starting with undelivered loads, fraudulent fuel advances, forged documents. I've seen so many forged documents. People, if something doesn't look right, question it, drop it. It's better to leave it alone and lose out on a load than to accept a fake document, right? There's one in particular, carrier sent me this rate con, and it literally looked like a 3-year-old had put it together. Time was kind of the essence. I think the urgency of everything was, plus the rate that was provided kind of overtook common sense, right? It can happen to any of us, but just if something doesn't look right, investigate further, right, at a minimum. So forged documents, and now developing into intricate schemes involving double brokering and theft of freight, right? Cargo theft has been on the rise. There's been a lot of, I'm just going to take a little sidebar here. There's actually, I've talked to so many shippers that are still getting hit with stolen loads. And there again, as I mentioned in one of my recent videos, I might have brought it up actually in a couple. Yeah, they're purging their current broker and carrier base, those that have gotten complacent, that aren't properly vetting. So if you're not properly vetting, right, or I can't afford eCarrierCheck or something, and you're just relying on the FMCSA and RMIS or one of the similar ones like that as your end all of vetting, you're in for disaster, right? Invest the $50 into eCarrierCheck. That's to save yourself, because they really are. We did a video a while back on them. You can go back and check that out on eCarrierCheck. But if money is sort of an issue, kind of tight, like it is for so many, you're not alone in that, right? So definitely have something, have another layer of protection, invest in yourself, invest in your business, right? And have something there to help you vet a little bit further beyond, like I said, the FMCSA and RMIS, or, my carrier packets, DAT on board, whatever it is you're using, right? And if you're still doing PDF paper packets, I don't know. I don't even want to get into that right now. Moving on. Fraudsters adapt quickly, always finding new loopholes to exploit using the latest available technologies, right? They're using it. You need to too, or also. Right? For the past 2 years, brokers and their customers have been the main victims of fraud, right? They have faced everything from quasi-legal double brokering to outright theft where cargo is sold in an overseas market, right? Today, fraudsters not only target brokers and shippers, but have looped back to factoring companies using sophisticated tricks while dangling hardworking carriers as bait, right? So this involves everybody. Everybody in the industry needs to be diligent, right? And I love this article. Tom is such a smart man. Everybody over there, Danny, another person. If you haven't watched Danny's channel, you need to go check it out. It's called Haul and Cash. The man really has some very deep insights into, the topics that he discusses on his channel. Another quick sidebar there and a little plug for Danny, because truly, just invaluable information over there. Okay. So recent trends in fraud, the latest trend that they've been seeing on the factoring side involves scammers posing as carriers through identity theft measures highlighted above, right? These perpetrators apply for factoring under the guise of needing urgent financing due to the freight recession. Okay. They're regularly seeing applications from carriers who've purportedly never factored before, suddenly landing huge contracts from reputable companies like Lockheed Martin, Goya Foods, and General Dynamics. Okay. The sophistication of these scams is alarming, with everything from direct phishing scams to regulatory exploits. Okay. So again, carriers, protect your identity, be diligent. If you're one of those that think that this can't happen to you, it probably can. Okay. So here's how the new fraud works. Okay. And Tom does a really great job of breaking this down. Step 1, identity theft through phishing scams or hacks. Okay. Perpetrators obtain USDOT PIN numbers via sophisticated emails that direct victims to a site masquerading as the legitimate FMCSA portal, right? If you guys remember a while back, they were copycatting DAT website. I don't remember. They may have done it for Truck Stop as well. So be very, very diligent when you're opening these emails. Oftentimes you can hover over an email or a link and it will tell you, you know, where it's being redirected. If anything looks off, right? If there's a hyphen in that domain, a period in there that breaks that up, like that makes it's very similar, but it's not the actual one, don't click on it. Better safe than sorry, right? So they exploit FMCSA verification checks to change the carrier's email and phone numbers with the FMCSA. Okay. Step 2 is insurance changes. Scammers contact insurance companies or make changes online, adding trucks to policies to artificially inflate their truck accounts or their truck counts, making their operations appear more substantial. This manipulation is possible because they have already altered the carrier's contact information in step 1. Okay. Step 3 is the factoring application. Factors unexpectedly receive a factoring application through their online sign-up links, which, you know, a rare occurrence, but it happens. Step 4 is underwriting checks. Factoring companies use UCC filings when working with carriers. The absence of a UCC filing is considered a red flag, particularly if the authority has been in existence for some time. Okay. Step 5, set up document verification. Factors rigorously scrutinize all submitted documents for authenticity, including driver's licenses, social security number cards, bank statements, and more. Unfortunately, all listed documents are either forged or improperly obtained through the FMCSA and various Secretary of State websites. Okay. So guys, another quick point about utilizing factoring, whether you like it, hate it, whatever your opinion is, factoring actually can add an additional layer of protection for you, right? Because they're double checking everything. If you guys remember a while back, I don't remember if it was it Danny or Tom? I don't know. One of them over there at Operfi I had talked to, and they actually had someone call with hopefully I don't have, my memory's not off on this. Somebody called in, they needed to, you know, they said, oh, well, we changed our bank account. We need, you know, to update you with the new account number and routing number and everything and for this load. So somehow they had obtained a copy of a bill of lading and everything posed as who the actual carrier was, but they knew better, right? And so rather than just going, oh, okay, yep, we can update your account. No, they actually got the actual owner of the trucking company on the phone, right? And ended up getting it resolved. So, you know, really, it's like having somebody in a corner, somebody having your back when it comes to a lot of this fraud and things that has really plagued the industry, right? They're like locusts, and they need to be stopped. So moving on. Step 6, invoice verification. Scammers submit invoices for direct shippers instead of a traditional broker to avoid detection. Okay. Factors having established verification tools with the broker community might be misled into verifying transactions via a newly created email, potentially leading to significant oversight. Okay. And step 7 is funding. An unsuspecting and overly trusting factoring company might fund the fraudster for thousands of dollars into a deceptively set up bank account, right? Like I just mentioned, believing it to be legitimate, but in reality, it was based on forged documents submitted in step 5. Okay, so again, having somebody in your corner as an added layer of protection, I mean, how much is that worth to you? At the end of the day, how much is that worth to you? You have to consider that as well. Okay. Protecting what's yours, advice for carriers, brokers, and factors. To further safeguard our industry, specific advice for carriers, brokers, and factors include, right? And we're gonna cover this for carriers first. Check your information. Regularly log into your FMCSA profile to check whether your contact information has been altered without your knowledge. Okay. Insurance verification. Contact your insurance agent to confirm that no unauthorized trucks have been added to your policy. Okay. Beware of phishing. Be vigilant. I haven't had enough coffee yet this morning, guys. I apologize. Or maybe too much, right? About emails that direct you to login pages that seem legit but might be fraudulent. Always confirm that the URL ends in .gov and avoid clicking on suspicious links, right? Kind of like what, some of what I mentioned just a little while ago. Factoring partners. Partner with the experts. Factors have been there, done that, and seen it all, right? They see a lot more than what we do, right, as brokers and carriers. Your factoring partner should be monitoring double brokering and current trends in fraud, okay? In this environment, your factoring partner should be subscribing to all the resources and be answering your questions on how to protect your business, right? They shouldn't be there just to process your invoice and things, right? They should be there as a go-to. Okay. So, and again, that's one of the things that I love about Operfi is that they do so much more than just the factoring for their customers. Okay. For brokers, use trusted carriers, right? This goes back to me talking about having established relationships with carriers, right? In fact, we had an issue with one of my regular carriers. We worked together for a couple of years together now. We run some dedicated freight together, had a little bit of an issue. We got it resolved, actually got a little bit more money for them. And it all worked out fabulously, right? And then we had another issue yesterday on an LTL load. I don't know, the customer just didn't have all their stuff together, and it was started, but I problem solved it for the carrier and the customer, right? And everything ended up going off without a hitch, but there was some sweating involved prior to, right? So it was changing requirements, printers going down, you name it. I mean, anything and everything that could have gone wrong did, but I took care of it. All right, that's what I'm here for. So, anywho, so yeah, using your preferred carrier network are the most valuable asset during these times, and also help to provide your customers with confidence and a sense of dependability, right? That was another thing. Going back, to my regular carrier on one of my dedicateds, is I didn't want to lose them. My customer didn't want to lose them. We've got a great thing going on there, right? Like I talk about that three-way happy marriage, right, between the customer, the carrier, and myself, right? And it's been a beautiful thing for a while now. KYC practices, know your customer, okay, and know your carrier. Request pictures of trucks, placards, driver's licenses, okay, things like that, especially if you're not already utilizing stuff like Carrier OK to, as part of your vetting process. It can take a little bit longer, and you might even want to do that on top of having that, right? It's a very simple thing for carriers to be able to provide. I know some of them feel like it's kind of a pain in the butt, but at the end of the day, again, carriers should almost be happy to do that, right, as a way of protecting themselves, the broker, and the whole process. Okay. Um, Maybe carriers should start requesting ID and things from brokers too, right? Might not hurt. Video calls can also help verify identities, right? Any pushback to any of these requests should signal a red flag. Okay. Carrier vetting services, utilizing services like Carrier 411, Highway, Carrier Assure, and Carrier OK to track changes in carrier information such as MCS 150 updates. CarrierOK.com provides dates when phone numbers and email addresses have been changed. Make this, I'm getting tongue tied today, guys. Make this MCS 150 date change check a part of your onboarding checklist. Okay. Again, going back to your factoring partners, you need to partner with some experts, right? Like the good people over at Operfi. Factors see fraud weekly, probably daily. Okay. Finding partners in the industry who are like-minded and have a vested interest in protecting your company and your customers' freight from scammers. Okay. Now, I'm not just here to promote Operfi because, whatever. Honestly, guys, I've been with factoring companies, like other factoring companies, big, small, everything in between. They've pulled bait and switches on me. I've heard horror stories about, some smaller factoring companies. Maybe you're like, for instance, an asset-based company. They decide to go out and get their broker authority. They want to get set up for brokering. Well, the only way we'll broker to, we'll factor your brokering invoices is if you bring over your carrier invoices to us as well. Well, that was not the case. You know what I mean? That was not the original agreement, but kind of last minute, they pull the rug and, because there's not a lot of factoring companies out there that will factor for brokers, right? Not like there is for carriers. Some of the big ones, once they get their hooks in you, you're basically a number. I've literally made phone call after phone call after phone call, email after email after email for months. Never got a reply. Never got a reply. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's my bad luck. But I've never had as good of an experience or spoken to people who were so forthcoming with information, resources, right? Things like this, the layers of protection with the actual industry knowledge that Operfi has. More than happy. Go check out their ratings, right? I almost beg of you to find a person that is 100% dissatisfied with them. Okay. They are really a phenomenal factoring company. In fact, every carrier that I've talked to, broker, just through happenstance, through networking that utilizes Operfi, literally brags them up every time. So there's got to be something said for that. Not my words. It's everybody else that I've talked to. So anywho, moving on. For factors, too good to be true. Always question deals that seem too perfect, especially from carriers who have not needed factoring service for years, but suddenly show interest, right? Domain IP checks. Verify the age of email domains for the customers and check the IP addresses used for signing contracts to see if a VPN is being used. With today's technology, it's easy to determine if the business owner is actually located in their respective state or even country when they're signing up. Okay. Visual confirmation. Ask for video calls and pictures of individuals holding their IDs up to confirm identities, right? Many fraudsters will argue this isn't possible or they can't get on a Zoom call, which should be an immediate red flag. So sort of something similar. In fact, I just had this discussion with someone yesterday because they were asking me about tracking. Okay. I have run into this instance before where, tracking was a requirement. It was a customer requirement on a load. It ended up being a spot load. So I had it up on DAT. Carrier called. Yep. We can do that. I reiterated 3 different times. You're going to have, tracking on this. Yep. Not a problem. Get the rate confirmation over to them. They sign it, send it back. Everything's hunky-dory. Time goes on. I'm doing check calls. Hey, are we still on time? I notice your driver hasn't accepted tracking. Oh, well, he's driving right now. He'll do it as soon as he gets to pick up, and this was a brand new relationship, and I gave the benefit of the doubt. I probably shouldn't have. Driver's getting close to the pickup appointment, and I said, look, we need to get that tracking accepted. It is a requirement. My customer's going to be upset if we don't have tracking on this load. Oh, well, he's an old man and he still uses a flip phone. Nah, Scooter, that don't fly, right? I reminded you umpteen times. I reiterated 3 times on the phone call, through email, that this load required tracking. So I basically pulled him off the load, explained the situation to my customer, apologized for the delay. I actually had a backup carrier, had no problem accepting the tracking. We got him in there like an hour later, and inevitably, things were okay, fortunately. But when you run into things like this, or not being able to verify something, that's a red flag, right? That load could have been stolen, could have been held hostage, anything could have happened, could have been double brokered. You know what I'm saying? We really need, and this is before the fraud really got prevalent in the industry, right? It was out there and you were cautious of things, but this was years ago before it got real bad. But anywho, rules for thee, but not for me, recommendations for the FMCSA. Recently, the FMCSA announced the formation of a task force to fight fraud. We appreciate the effort, but these scams have been going on for long enough. Basically, how many more millions or billions of dollars worth of freight need to be stolen for the government to act? And we need action. And actually, it's not just even, I'll elaborate on that a little bit. It's not even just the millions or billions of dollars worth of freight that's stolen. It's the brokers, it's the carriers that are victims of this as well, right? How many thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars have, carriers and brokers suffered losses from as a result of freight fraud? Right. And I think probably in large part is probably due to being complacent, or they sounded really nice on the phone. Right. Well, roses have thorns too. Okay. So a simple solution we propose is stricter authority registration policies. We often receive applications from companies like ABC Trucking LLC, supposedly domiciled in a specific state, only to find that no LLC or federal tax ID exists. Okay. Regulators require banks and financial institutions to confirm the legal business owners' social security numbers and EINs before opening an account. Is our supply chain not as important, or should it not be held to the same scrutiny? Right? That brings up a really good point. We are probably one of the most, if not the most important industry in the country, right? So for the FMCSA to kind of turn a blind eye or just sort of, it almost feels like they're sort of appeasing us a little bit, right? Like, just, yeah, okay, fine, we'll do something. Anytime you hear we're from the government, we're here to help, should probably put the brakes on, right? Beware. Government agencies like the IRS and VA have implemented ID.me for verification and two-factor authentication. Okay, implementing similar protocols should be the first gatekeeper to keep bad actors at bay, right? I've brought this up before. I think that companies wanting to, do business here in the U.S. should be registered in the U.S., verified address here in the U.S. They should not be allowed to operate from overseas, right? I'm not saying that every company that does business here that's registered outside of the U.S., or that lives outside of the U.S. is bad. But with kind of the way things are, the times that we're currently in, it's just not worth the risk, at least in my mind. Tell me if I'm wrong, right? I look forward to everybody's comments about this, or, your thoughts, opinions. So a call to vigilance. All right. As we navigate these challenging times, we must remain vigilant in protecting our businesses. Just as Ronald Reagan famously said during the Cold War, trust but verify. Okay. That approach remains critical. While the FMCSA has stepped up with a task force and new measures, we in the industry must do our part too. Right. Don't get complacent. Whether you're a factoring company, a carrier, a freight broker, the importance of diligence cannot be overstated, right? By implementing robust verification processes and staying alert to the signs of fraud, we can protect our businesses and maintain the integrity of the transportation and logistics industry. Let's remain vigilant, train our teams, and keep a healthy level of skepticism. Together, we can overcome the challenges posed by fraudsters. Right? I know that a lot of this seems like additional steps, more time out of your day, for the verification of everything. But is it really worth it to skip steps or to just go, I'm sure it'll be fine, right? If that's your mindset, you're one of those that ends up getting caught, right? You're one of the ones that end up getting scammed. So again, I'd like to really thank Tom over at Operfi for this article. I felt like I needed to do a video on this when I saw it. It's a really great read. It truly is. It brings a lot of insight to things, and I hope that you guys found it as valuable as I have. Okay. It's just a very key reminder to, the importance of proper vetting, and not being complacent, doing our due diligence, being vigilant. Okay. I know I've taken up almost 40 minutes of your day already. For those of you that stuck with me the whole time, again, don't forget to check. Why am I doing that? Don't forget to check out my tips and tools resources in the description down below. I love y'all. I appreciate everybody that likes, shares, subscribes, joins the group, which, as a reminder, if you're joining the group, don't forget to fill out the questionnaires, okay? I will not let you in as a protection to the already existing group members. If you don't, I'm just going to decline it. I've gotten too many requests for me to say, hey, you forgot to fill out the, and send it. I just decline it now. I just don't have the time of my day between everything else that I've got going on to send everybody a reminder, okay? I wish I did, and I was my only job for the day sometimes, but unfortunately, I have other things going on, other people counting on me. So with that, I hope everybody's having a great day. I'll go ahead and end this now, and as always, be kind to one another.